What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Today, I'm going to bring you some clips of, the world fighting for our attention and all things like that. Because, when things are important in the world, things are happening, everybody always look for the black guy, the black woman, to make their opinions known, to put their black force power on every issue, to help anybody in their particular agendas through, right? For black folks, we got options when it comes to this. We can either not pay attention to it or we can pay attention to it, right? But the natural state of the black culture is to care about things, no matter who is going through what, right? We complain that we're too nice and too forgiving and all that stuff, but we can't help it. That's just our nature, right? So on one hand, you're gonna have people say, hey, we gotta support, we fighting for what's right. We can recognize that wrongdoing. We can recognize what a victim is. We can recognize all those things, and because we have a platform to speak truth to power, we're gonna do it, right? No matter what group it is. Then you got the other group, they're like, man, F that. Everybody hate on us. We don't care about nobody. F everybody. But here's the problem with that thinking, right? Even though black people are justified in thinking that way. We're justified. But here's the thing. For years, black people have been preaching to the mountaintops to all other marginalized groups, right? We've been preaching to the mountaintops to all non-participants, right? But observers that, hey, this thing is going on. This is wrong and this is right, right? We've been preaching that we want all these other groups to have some sort of empathy or understanding about our situation, right? We want other groups who are not black to care about our situation, right? So with that being said, we have to demonstrate the thing that we want other people to do, right? If we're supposedly the moral compass of the planet, because apparently we must be, because everybody needs and wants our opinions and thoughts on every goddamn thing, and if we don't say what they want us to say, they get all upset and shit, right? So what we need to do, right, is we need to step back, take a look, and figure out what our options are. We can either go one way and be an isolationist group of Africans, right? First of all, it's bad enough that we got different African people within our own culture that want to further isolate themselves from the greater body of Africans, right? You got your certain groups in South Africa, you got your certain groups in African Americans, you got your certain Nigerians, you got your Somalians, you got your certain Ethiopians, Eritreans, you got your North Africa, you got various different type of Africans that wanna make themselves or only concentrate on their small individual groups. They want to remain weak, basically, right? But they want to remain pure and weak, right? Which is unrealistic, and it doesn't matter what they say because they will be assimilated into the greater body. That's just the way the actual world works, despite what they want, right? But black people, right? We have to decide, do we actually want allies? I mean, we always say, oh, there's some allies, but they're not real allies, right? Or they're allies, but they're abusive allies. Or they're allies, but their agenda really doesn't correspond with our agenda. But the thing is, there are allies out there who actually care about black people. There are allies out there who empathize with black people. There are allies out there, people who recognize the struggle, right? And they use us as an example. Other marginalized groups, right, who are getting marginalized and discriminated against the same oppressor that oppressed us. We are professionals when it comes to dealing with these white folk, right? People use us for inspiration. People use our culture to inspire their individual groups to fight against the machine, to rage against the machine. People look for us for inspiration. So when shit happens with their communities, they looking at us to say something, hopefully, right? To show some empathy as a big, huge, powerful, influential group that historically is known worldwide for being marginalized, abused, shit stolen from us. We've been genocided every which way from Sunday. They still don't even respect all the genocides that them white Europeans has placed upon us. They still don't even talk about the genocide of King Leopold. They act like Hitler ain't got nothing on King Leopold. He did that shit. He considered the whole country his fucking backyard. Can you believe that shit? That's how disrespectful it is, right? But yeah, we don't get the same consideration as the Jews. They get all sorts of shit. But the Jews and their suffering ain't got shit to do, ain't got shit on our suffering, right? For real, right? And yes, yet again, we're not no fucking Jews. We're Africans. We're Igbo. You understand? We need to stop using these fucking words like Jews and Hebrews to relate to African people. We know that those white people stole our shit. But when we had it, originally, it wasn't no Jew or Israel, none of these European white words that we keep using to reinforce, you know, white European centeredness of all this shit. We need to start using our African words, African tribes. You want to talk about the tribes? Stop saying all that yashu, all that fake language, Yiddish shit, and start speaking African languages and start saying it the correct way. And start putting the real black power into our own actual religions and spiritual systems. That's the foundation for all this bullshit these white people done made up and fuck the whole world up, play and pretend like they somebody they not. But anyway, the Palestinians, you know, we know that the Arabs have not treated us right? We know the Arabs, you know, and when I say Arabs, I mean the white Arabs. I mean the new age mixed race Arabs, because the original Arabs were black. So you got to keep in mind, during the Arab slave trade, a lot of those so-called Arabs that we keep talking about were also black people. All right, and keep in mind the slave trade is different. Everybody had a slavery back then, but it wasn't nothing like chattel slavery. I need to do a video, and I'm going to explain what the difference between the world version of slaving, you know, doing work, you know, and what the fucking white folks made up. Because it's two different things. And I think I need to clarify that, because a lot of people don't understand and they're equating everything as the same. But there are people out there who's been on our side. They've been with us. It's just that in the agent, before the age of information, you didn't know that the Palestinians, while they're being persecuted, were also on our side, right? You didn't know that the Ireland, right, who knows a little something about being discriminated against, raped and taken advantage of by the exact same Anglo-Saxon, you know, that we got to deal with. That's where the Irish have always been on black American side and African side. They've always been speaking from the mountaintops about what those Anglo-Saxons did, because those Anglo-Saxon, French, Francophone, white, fucking goddamn Vikings, these motherfuckers been persecuting the goddamn Irish and the Scottish the exact same way, right? But the thing is, most people don't know that because you live in your own bubble of your own villages. You don't know what's going on around the world. You don't know who's really supporting you. You just blatantly say, hey, nobody's supporting us. Nobody's on our side. Nobody likes us. Yes, it's true. You go to any country, you'll find people who are discriminating against black people, right? But you can also go to those same countries and find people who don't discriminate against black people. You'll find people who hate the fact that there's people in their societies that discriminate against black people. You got people from other races that appreciate the things that we've done that set the foundation for them to even be able to fight for their own actual revolution. You understand? But we don't pay attention to that shit. We like to pay attention to the negative, because that's what society says. It says, pay attention to everything negative. Don't pay attention to anything positive or supportive. That's what they want us to believe. And keep in mind, despite the historical, you know, discrimination we get from POCs around the world who are not as, they don't have the information we have. They're just coming on board. They don't have the information we have, so they couldn't do better, right? We were there first. We had the information first. We've been screaming it first. But we have to show some grace to these people now that they're coming into this information. Now that they find out the shit that they were brainwashed to believe from the same oppressor, right? That told them we ain't shit, right? The same guy that told us we ain't shit. From the same record labels that make sure our black boys and girls go out there and reinforce that we ain't shit with our own magical power called black music, right? The same person that pump and finance the degenerateness in the black community is the same group of motherfuckers that support the stealing and robbing and genocide in Congo. Is the same motherfuckers that support the killing of the Palestinians. These are all, and these are the same motherfuckers who will look at you in your face and tell you you need to accept man on man, woman on woman, dog on dog, man on man, woman on man, woman. A man could be a woman man, a man could be a man woman. Because keep in mind, Hollywood, hey, is run by who? Both the who and the who. The rainbow and the who. And you know what? I'm starting to come to the conclusion that the rainbow and them, hey, they're the same people. I was this years old, right? When I realized that the same people pumping those rainbow flags are the same people pumping that blue and white flag. It's the same group of people, guys. It's the same group of people. They just got two different flags for the same group of people. Anyway, without further ado, I'm gonna put this clip here. That's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
Hamas is not winning in the Middle East. Hamas is getting obliterated by the IDF. We are watching the end of Arabism as an idea. Where are the Arab nations? They are nowhere. What do you think that Allah is with Hamas? What if Allah is angry at Hamas? What if Allah is angry at the Middle East? What if all the war and chaos and fitna you see in the Middle East is the wrath of Allah? They don't think that. They think they are Arabs, so they are blessed people. But the people in the Middle East are not the Arabs of 1,400 years ago. The people of the Middle East today are a mix of Turkish people, Aryan people, and Caucasian people who converted later to Islam. The real Arabs, such as the people you have in Yemen, are cousins of Africans, and they are black people and they are oppressed. As long as the melanated people of the world, such as my people and so many others, are poor, oppressed, their history is denied to them, you are going to see the wrath of Allah. Don't take my word for it. Watch the event of the world for yourself.
I hear what you're saying, but I want to show you something. I really want you to take a second to research this, so you can understand exactly how the Palestinians have stood with us since the 70s. Y'all keep it official. Peace. Watch this video.
Palestinians are racist to black people. And if you look around, it's black people that are out there.
Okay, early in the morning. Please take a look of this video I stitched. First of all, this woman is no sister of mine. And I would be ashamed as any sister, Muslim sisters out there that would call her a sister. If you would take a look at some of her other videos, she is apprehensible. She is, or the videos are unbelievably out of this craziness and disgusting. For her to put this video on at this time is the worst I've seen her do. First of all, yes, I'm sure there is some racist Palestinians, but to call out all Palestinians as racist at this time, to cause harm and to try to have the black community turn its back on the Palestinians and the disgusting war crimes that Israel is doing to them. How dare she? How dare she even breathes a moment of these lies? Please, black Muslims, black Christians, black Jewish people, black atheists, please do not take this woman's words as facts. She is just apprehensible. Disgusting. POS. Disgusting. You know, she doing this video at this time, her one objective is to turn the black people against Palestinians and what's going on. She's no sister of mine. No, she's not.
We are with the people of Palestine.
Note the countries that are supportive of Palestine versus those that are against us. The countries that are supportive of Palestine tend to have a history of being oppressed. The countries that are against us tend to have a history of being the oppressor. One of our biggest supporters, Ireland, bless them, love them, has always been vocal about being pro-Palestinian and stopping apartheid in Palestine. And we all know their history. So just food for thought. Just think about it.
Global black solidarity for Palestine without discussing black Palestinians or Afro-Palestinians themselves. Some Afro-Palestinians trace their roots to the land as far back as the 12th century and are descendants of Muslim pilgrims who went to Mecca for Hajj and then settled in Jerusalem. Others are the descendants of those who migrated from places such as Nigeria, Sudan, Senegal, and Chad. Some of them came to Palestine specifically to fight against British colonialism and Zionism.
The second, third, fourth generation, if you ask us to identify ourselves, we say we are Afro-Palestinians. We were born here, we grew up here.
The community is deeply rooted in Jerusalem, with a long history of involvement in the Palestinian liberation movement. Ali Jidda is a leader of Jerusalem's Afro-Palestinian community, who served 17 years in Israeli prisons as a member of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine.
Bishop Talbot Swan, a highly respected civil rights activist, expressed a sympathy and solidarity among the African American community for the Palestinians as outrage over Israel's actions has continued to grow.
If any people should resonate with what's going on in Palestine, it's Black people in America. Even when we look at what's happening on the streets in our nation, many police departments across America actually go to Israel to be trained by the military in so-called counterterrorism strategies. And then they come here into Black communities and employ those strategies on Black citizens. So we fully understand their struggle. It resonates with us, and we stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people.
For many, the fact the US government funds Israel while reparations owed to Black Americans have yet to be paid is hypocritical.
They can find nearly $4 billion a year to give to Israel, but they can't find any money to give to African Americans who descended from enslaved Africans. It's a travesty. It's a shame. And we're not asking for a handout. We're not asking for you to do us a favor. That's money that is owed. That's a debt that the United States has yet to pay.
Like many faith leaders, Bishop Swan reiterated his continued support for the Palestinians in the face of racist apartheid.
Oppressed people all over the world are watching what's happening. We are standing in solidarity with you. We are pushing and pressing for governmental structures to condemn the violence, to stop the funding of terrorism, because that's exactly what it is. And we want them to remain steadfast, to be strong, and to know that we are behind them.
The demands for the US to stop funding Palestinian oppression and to implement justice for Black America will continue as long as the status quo remains in place. Support for the Palestinians has undoubtedly intensified, with millions of people around the world condemning Israel, demanding an end to the occupation of Palestine. Richard Sudan, Press TV, London.
Palestine is racist towards Black people. Let's talk about it. So after the video I put up on Friday, I got a bunch of comments that suggested that we as Black people should stay out of the conflict because Palestinians are also racist. And in fact, they have a city called Al-Abid, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, which means slave. And it's meant for Black people to stay in slum-like conditions there. So obviously I did my own research so that I could reach my own conclusions. I also found this really cool story about this Afro-Palestinian journalist here, Nasreen Salem, and she went through detail in terms of the persecution she's experienced both from Palestinian people and the IDF. Additionally, we should know that Palestine participated in the Arab slave trade and slavery was only abolished in the country in the early 20th century. However, despite all of this information, I am still very much pro-Palestine, even more so than ever before, and let me tell you why. If you care about Afro-Palestinians, Black people living in Palestine, then you would understand that they are going through a genocide by way of the Israeli government, and they are also experiencing discrimination from their Palestinian peers as well as Israelis as well. But in order for us to fight for their freedom from said discrimination, they need to be alive to see us fight for them. They need to survive the genocide. So if you care about Black people all over the world and you care about Afro-Palestinians, then there is absolutely no excuse for you not to be pro-Palestine in this conflict. If you are just using this as a reason to say that you should stay out or that Black people shouldn't get involved, then simply put, you don't care about other people who look like you who are not in your immediate vicinity. So no, I don't think that's a good enough reason or even a reason at all to not be pro-Palestine.
Want to see what Israeli propaganda looks like? Look at this.
Palestinians are racist to Black people.
I think you should be ashamed of yourself, bros. You see what that lady is saying? She said the truth. She said that you Arabs are racist to Africans. It is not a lie. It is the truth. Look at what is happening in Libya. How they are selling us. Modern day slavery. How they use us in all these Arab countries. You think we don't know? Now she's trying to call you out. Like, look, you guys should change your ways. That, look, the Africans always support you, but you guys always look down on them. You are very racist towards them. And in fact, the truth is that you guys are the most racist. And instead, you are coming out and you're saying that this is Israeli propaganda. You're not helping your case at all.
Don't be this person, guys. A lawyer you can trust says all blacks talking about free Palestine like they actually F with blacks. It's almost hilarious. Yeah. This video is about the interconnectedness of black and Palestinian struggles that's well dated and historical, you know. We know the solidarity between Palestinians and black folks can be traced all the way back to Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and the Black Panthers, all the way through George Floyd and the BLM movement. And also, contrary to popular belief, black support for Palestine has long existed. Key historical figures such as Malcolm X, James Baldwin, Amari Baraka, and various black organizations, including SNCC, which stood for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, supported Palestine. Their position and work on Palestine was fundamental. As a matter of fact, speaking of Black Panther Party, Huey P. Newton got a book that he wrote that changed my life when I was 19. You see what I'm saying? He said that we must think globally and act locally. You feel me? And when it comes to this old Palestinian struggle, we can recognize that quote right there is one that illustrates the solidarity so beautifully. Here's a picture of Huey P. Newton standing outside of a Palestinian refugee camp in Lebanon in 1980. Here's an article from 2015 from Dr. Mark Lamont Hill about reimagining transnational solidarity through difference from Ferguson all the way to Palestine. Here is another picture of Palestinians standing in solidarity and praying, you feel me, with a picture of two individuals that's been slain by settler colonial violence, one being Palestinian and one being black. But that's not it, though. Through his advocacy, Malcolm X linked black internationalism with the Palestinian cause, and this created a legacy of solidarity that created world-influenced black Palestinian revolutionaries to come. For the people in the back, a lot of the military funding and tools that's used to police both Palestinians and black folks come from the same entity, the American government. Lastly, it was very telling in this tweet that Palestine is capital, but the B in blacks is lowercase. I don't like that right there at all.
They don't care about us. You got black people in Palestine facing racism. You better go do your research. What about our African brothers and sisters in Palestine who are suffering racism at the hands of the Palestinian Arabs? Y'all ain't said nothing about that. Oh, no. Oh, no. You come to the wrong place for that. And see what we fail to realize as African people. What we fail to realize as African people is when you start paying attention to other people's struggle, you give the whole world permission to ignore your problems. I don't see Jews taking attention off their problems for black people. I don't see Arabs taking attention off their problems for black people. I don't see Latinos taking attention off their problems for black people. What about all the black people sold into slavery by the Arab nations? Has Palestine spoke out against that? Has Palestine spoke out against all the Africans in Africa, East Africa, being sold into slavery by the Arabs? I ain't heard no Palestinian say nothing about the Arab slave trade against African people. Get out of my face with that. You come to the wrong place. You come to the wrong place.
To be Palestinian, that's a big problem. But to be a black Palestinian, I'm quite convinced it will be there, because as a black Palestinian, I am double oppressed. First of all, they oppress me as a Palestinian, you see. Secondly, they oppress me because of my color. Whenever I go around in the Israeli side, they call me Kushi. Kushi means n***. The more they humiliate me, the more they oppress me, the more I stick to my land. Because this is my land. I'm so rooted. We are deeply rooted as Africans, as Palestinian Africans in this land.
I was today years old when I found out.
كفتاة ذات بشرة سوداء عايشة في قطاع غزة، أنا تعرضت للعنصرية من وأنا طفلة صغيرة، وما زلت لهذه اللحظة بتعرض للعنصرية لأسباب أنا بصراحة مش عارفة إيش هي.
كانت زمان بس الحين لا، مش موجود إطلاقا. الأسمر والأبيض واحد. ما نضحك على حالنا ونقول إنه العنصرية مش موجودة عندنا في المجتمع الفلسطيني. هي موجودة ولكن بنسبة أقل مما كانت عليه قبل 25 سنة أو 50 سنة.
في فترة الطفولة إلا ما تلاقي فيه أطفال يعني يأذيك بكلمة نوعا ما، كوشي أسمر، وين يا شوكولاتة، وين يا إشي زي هيك.
إذا كان في بينه وبينك مزح احكي بدك إياه، بس مزح بأدب وبحدود.
لما تيجي أسمر بأسلوب الذم بيختلف عن أسمر بأسلوب المدح، لأنه الأغاني كلياتها اللي بتغنوا فيها بالجمال للون البشرة السمراء. يعني
في حد كان يقول لي ما تلمسيني علشان ما أتشحبر، يعني ما يصير أسمر زيي.
كانت المدرسة مملوءة بالسمر وبالبيض، عمرنا ما حسينا إنه في فرق بين أسمر وبين أبيض، دائما مع بعض كأهل كأصدقاء كأصحاب.
وأنا ماشية في الشارع نظرات الناس لإني، نظرات الأطفال، نظرات الناس الكبيرة حتى في السن، يعني بيعتبروني صراحة إن أنا كائن فضائي، بيعطوني نظرات إنه إحنا أفضل منك، إنه أنت أقل منا.
عمر ما واحد أهاني في قصة إنه أنا أسود هو، لا في مدرسة ولا في نادي ولا في عبادة،
حتى في الطريق في الشارع في كل حاجة في السواق ما في.
كلياتنا يعني ربنا خلق هذا أسمر، خلق هذا أبيض. الشيء الأساسي اللي الإنسان يحكم عليه اللي هو تعامل الإنسان، جوهر الإنسان من جوا، أخلاق الإنسان، نجاحات الإنسان اللي وصل لها.
أنا أخواني مهندسين، واحد مهندس ميكانيكي والثاني مهندس كمبيوتر، وبيشتغلوا عادي، وأنا اشتغلت هنا في دير البلح، كنا أنا وياهم حبايب مع بعض، أسمر وأبيض.
قدمت لشركة وكانت السكورز تبعتي هي الأعلى، لكن تفاجأت إنهم هم استغنوا عني، وحكى لي مدير العلاقات العامة قال لي أنت جدعة وطموحة وقد حالك، لكن أنا ما بخاطر إنه أوظف يعني إنسانة ذات بشرة سوداء للشركة، لأنه إحنا بهمنا الواجهة الإعلامية، وهذه كانت صدمة في حياتي، يعني صدمة جدا.
الإنسان لما ينجرح بالذات في الصغر يعني من موقف معين إلا ما يضل ملازمه لحد ما يكبر.
ضليتني منعزلة في البيت، ما بعمل إشي، ما بسوي، ما بطلع مع أصدقائي، حتى المراية ما كنت أطلع فيها، لكن بالنهاية الحمد لله طلعت من هذا الاكتئاب واستمريت وعملت إنجازات ووصلت للي أنا بدي إياه. يعني لما مثلا واحد طفل اسود تعرض لتنمر بقول له ابوه تجاهل، ليش؟ بامكانك انت ترد عليه، بامكانك انه انت تعطيه رد انه انا رافض، ان انت عنصري.
نزرع في الاجيال اللي جايه انه لا، التنوع والاختلاف هذا شيء حلو كتير يعني.
Let's talk about it.
You might receive. The African American community loves to separate themselves and loves to victimize themselves all the time and act like people of color unity does not exist. But it does. You guys do have allies. You guys just don't want to see it. You guys want to play lone wolf and act like oppression only exists in the black community. But it doesn't. There's oppression going on all around the world. When's the last time you posted about the Muslims in the concentration camps in China? When's the last time LeBron posted about it?
Okay, African American and POCs, there are some. Not all of y'all are allies. It's some of y'all. Some of y'all still seek white validation. And like I said, not all of y'all, but some of y'all still look at the media and how they portray one black person and think all black people act like that. I say this with all respect. You cannot look at a certain race or a certain group of people to bring awareness to your issues. That has, after they done fought so hard just to bring awareness to their issues. And LeBron ain't our spokesperson.
The bond between black people and Palestinians, especially black Americans.
Happening in Palestine unfold in front of our eyes. There are two events in American history that American history would prefer that you not remember or not know about at all. I need you to pay real close attention if you are younger than me or if your political Black Lives Matter awakening started with George Floyd. Number one, the intense anti-Arab, anti-Muslim, anti-immigrant, racist propaganda that flooded this country post 9/11. I was a mildly socially aware 10-year-old growing up in the South post 9/11, and y'all, it was nuts. Kids was getting beat up at school. Random people who even looked Muslim or Arab were being killed on the street, spit at on the street. Political propaganda was using the Holocaust of Jewish people, saying that we believe that ISIS wants to wipe out Americans in a similar way as the Holocaust. And all of that propaganda was used to fuel the war on terror. And it is not an accident that now a lot of the propaganda that they know will reach American audiences has started to refer to Hamas as Hamas ISIS, in order to remind the American public we're supposed to be racist against Arabs over here, remember? Number 2, where were you in 2014 when Michael Brown was killed? That's not an accuse you of not being a real ally moment. I really want you to think about that. In 2014, Michael Brown was an 18-year-old black boy who was murdered by a police officer in Ferguson, Missouri. He had his hands up, according to multiple witnesses. His body was left in the street for 4 hours for everyone to see. The officer who killed him was never charged. Massive protests went on for weeks, months. I was part of a lot of them. That moment is important because that was when a lot of us realized that the police were a military entity in real time. Why do police look like soldiers in the army? Where are police getting these tanks? What? And yes, it is true that Palestinians were not just tweeting us how to survive tear gas and how to treat bullet wounds. They were on the ground with us, needing no explanation. Why? Because the same military tactics that are used against them were now being used against us. Just as an example, for days, West Florissant, the exit that was leading to the spot where Michael Brown was killed, was just closed. Nobody was allowed in or out. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. So if you were around and aware during those 2 points in our not so recent past, that is why what is happening against Palestinians right now is particularly devastating. People are asking me where to start with the book list I gave y'all. Start with this book and start with chapter 7. This is a speech Angela Davis gave in St. Louis, Missouri, 1 year after Michael Brown was killed.
Stop coming to my page and telling me that you're not supporting Palestine because they don't care about black people or gay people. Especially if you're from a European country or the US of A, because they don't like black people or gay people here either. So what are you saying? Within the black community, we have black people that don't like black people and are detrimental to the rest of the black community. By that logic, we should leave cis heterosexual men on the roadside to be unalived by police officers. But we don't. And just like we don't leave y'all behind, I am not gonna look away from Palestine. I refuse. We are watching children be bombed in real time. I watched a video of a little girl and a cadaver went by and she said, "That's my mom. I know my mom by her hair." And they said no, and she said, "I know my mom." I watched a man crawl on his knees through the rubble, calling out to his 4 children, and not one of them answered. You being able to watch a genocide because they don't like me says more about you than it does about them. Regardless of who's against me, I'm against genocide, okay?
Lives. I went out to every single protest, and not only me, many Jews in New York City held their own protests for George Floyd. And every time I get on this app and I hear a black American come up here and say that they feel with the Palestinians, it's mind-boggling, because I didn't see any Palestinian.
Okay, since you want to get on here and lie, let's look at this Zionist think piece. I just need you to read the sentence. BLM organizations defend the unaliving spree, and you know what? Carried out by the Palestinian T-word group Hamas in Israel on October 7. Ferguson is key. Palestinians were very much involved on the streets of Ferguson soon after Officer Darren Wilson shot Michael Brown. There were Palestinian activists already there during the first month, and the Palestinian flag was flown at the first major national march on August 30th. I want to know what Zionist obsession with black Americans supporting Palestine is. Between holding secret conventions in Atlanta, going on live, making videos, I don't understand. You guys don't even make these videos and hold these conventions about American Jews for Palestine. It's weird, and I hope you seek help. Also, I have a video on my page about how Palestinian and black liberation has been tied together since the 1960s. Go and feel free to check it out. I advise you to do so, and then you'll actually understand why Palestinian liberation is so important for so many black Americans. Also, didn't Israel sell arms to white South Africans to enforce apartheid and brutalize black South Africans? In fact, when the apartheid came crumbling down, rightfully so, Israel allowed white South Africans to move to Israel as long as they converted to Judaism, and then settled them in the West Bank, where Israel enforces apartheid on Palestinian land. My personal experience about most black people is that you cannot buy their solidarity, you cannot bully them into solidarity. They will always stand on the side of the oppressed, and the oppressed is not you. So stop trying to bully them into solidarity. So let's discuss. Afro-Palestinians are not descendants of the slaves sold in the Middle East, although that did happen. I am not denying that. They trace their roots to 3 different things. The first group are descendants of the Africans who came to complete pilgrimage in Al-Aqsa, and they ended up liking Palestine, so they stayed. The second were a group of conscripted laborers by the British Army to come into Palestine and fight the Ottoman Empire. The third group was comprised of African Muslims who came in 1948 to help the Palestinians fight against the colonization and creation of the State of Israel. Also, what the hell is this? Like, did you really just say that out loud? What is wrong with you? And I'm sorry, but your argument is giving, hey, our black people are actually Jewish and your black people are like African. What? Also, you just reinforced all of our beliefs that Israel is a very deeply racist state. You guys really should stop talking because you're digging yourself deeper and deeper every single day. This is actually a lie, so let's discuss.